In the summer of 2001, when I was about 6 years old, I went with my parents to Indonesia. For me, it was the first time that I'd been in a country that I really was able to experience true poverty. You know, we say that there's poverty here in the United States, but it's really nothing to the extent that it is in a third world country. While I don't really remember a lot of that trip, given the fact that I was so young, the one thing that I really do remember about that trip were these craft markets. You literally take a city block and just shove hundreds of sellers with almost identical goods, and they were just all fighting for your business. And if you looked at one good in one shop and simply asked the price, they knew you were interested and they would pester you just all the way through the market. They would literally follow you from their shop and continue with you until you finally bought the object or until you left, got in a taxi and ran away. So one of those objects happens to be this mask right here. I will never forget, I saw this, I pointed it out to my dad, and I'm like, hey Dad, I really like this mask, it's really cool, I'd never seen it. It was really unique compared to a lot of the other crafts that were there. And my dad asked the price, and the guy said $3. And I was like, $3, that's ridiculous. I'm like, the amount of labor and amount of craftsmanship that went into it, I'm like, that's crazy, only $3? And the funny thing was, my dad started to walk away from it because he knew how the barter system worked, and I was just baffled because this guy that had this mask, because he could clearly see that I loved it, he followed us to a few more shops until we finally bought it. But then once the guy left, I asked my dad, why was he so persistent? Like, why did he continue bugging us with this? And he said, Colton, that guy might not have been able to eat had we not paid for that. And it was the first time that it really struck me that there are people in this world that don't have that next meal. They really have to fight for that next meal. You know, being a kid in a very affluent family in Northern Virginia in the United States, I never thought about what's my next meal going to be. I never went to bed hungry, any of those kinds of things. It was really the first time that I got a global perspective on things. It was, I won't say that I really understood it all at the age of 6, but I think it laid the foundation for me to understanding, the problems of the world. And while this does represent like my first true experience with poverty, it also has another big meaning to me. I'll show a picture at the end, but this is the first mask that actually started a big hobby for me. I actually now collect masks from different countries that I go to. I like to pick something that really is representative of that culture, something about their religion. You can look at like different types of masks, how they're created, like many are out of wood, some out of metal, and there's something that I can find within those masks that relates to an experience that I had in these different places. And I feel like that collection for me is a representation of my love for foreign cultures. If you can ask any of my friends, as much as I speak Spanish, even to people who don't actually speak Spanish, I really love learning about other people and what's that secret ingredient that makes that culture work, but it's not necessarily part of ours. And I think for me, I've always loved foreign cultures, and it's really fun part. I enjoy it. So yeah, that's this guy. I'll pass around that photo if you can.